Yeah, Pigeon.
Okay, good afternoon, one and all. We welcome you all to the session 3 of day 3 to the ICTiBLANEI-2. So in this session, we have papers from the Morphosyntax. And as per our earlier schedule, the session was supposed to be chaired by Professor Madhumita Barbara, but because of some internet issue, Madam is not able to be in a position to chair the session. So instead of Professor Madhumita, I would like to request Dr. Monali Longmalai to kindly chair the session. So I invite Dr. Monali to start the session.
Thank you, Bijan, for the announcement. And I'd like to welcome everybody once again in this second afternoon session of the final day of ICTiBLANEI-2. And today, our first presenter is Angshu Bikash Hazarika, and he will be presenting on case in Koch Rajbanshi and Hajong, a comparative study with Assamese and Bengali. Before he starts the presentation, I'd like to request the participants to please stick with the time limit. So it's 20 minutes for presentation and 10 minutes for discussion. And there will be another session after that in half an hour. So please be on time. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Angshu.
Thank you so much, Chairperson ma'am. So, with your permission, I would like to start my presentation. Sir, okay, thank you so much for putting it in full screen. So, as everyone can see on the screen, that my topic is case in Koch Rajbanshi and Hajong, and I'll be comparing it with Assamese and Bengali. So, there is a reason why I have chosen these three languages. So as we look into the background of the study, we can know that these languages are gradually shifting towards its neighboring Indo-Aryan, uh, geographically proximate Indo-Aryan languages. So we can see that the Koch language belongs to the Koch subgroup of Boro-Garo group of the Tibeto-Burman family, and the language has been shifting, or we can, if we look into the history of the language, then we can say, some scholars also say it as language replacement to become a dialect of either Bengali and Assamese. So it depends on the geographical region where the speakers of the Koch languages are. So accordingly, in Assam and Northwest Bengal, the language has attained the status of a dialect of Bengali, and it is called Rajbanshi or Rajbangshi. In Assam, it is known as Koch Rajbanshi. So whenever scholars compare the Rajbanshi dialect with the other dialects of Bengali, for example, the Western Bengali, then they find clear traces of Eastern origin in its features. The next slide, please. Yes, so as I have mentioned, in Assam, the Koch community is referred to as Koch Rajbanshi due to socio-political and historical reasons, and so is the language spoken. The spoken language is also termed as Koch Rajbanshi. And Grierson, in Linguistic Survey of India, has classified Rajbanshi as a marked dialect of Bengali. And according to him, this dialect extends from the Bengal province to the Gwalpara district of Assam, where the dialect slowly merges into Assamese. So the dialect spoken in Bengal is quite different from that spoken in Gwalpara and Rangpur districts of Assam. That means we can see a geographical span in the eastern part of the region, in the eastern part of Bengal. The Rajbanshi which is spoken is very different from the Rajbanshi which is spoken in the districts of Assam. So, however, we find that in the West Garo Hills in Meghalaya and in the Garo Hill region of adjacent Assam, there are two dialects of Koch, Harigaya and Wanang. So these two dialects have retained their original Tibeto-Burman distinctiveness. So as per my study is concerned, I'll be focusing on the Harigaya dialect, and there are very limited studies conducted on these two dialects, Harigaya and Wanang dialects. So the next language, which I have been studying, is the Rabha language. The Rabha language is also from the Boro subgroup of the Tibeto-Burman language family, And according to George Grierson, the language has been dying out very fast. So this is because of the influence of the dominant language in the socio-cultural domain. The speakers of Rabha language have been gradually shifting towards Assamese. So even though there are maintenance efforts and revitalization efforts being taken by the governments and academicians, even though the lack of domain of use of the language has been contributing towards this language shift. So there are different dialects of Rabha, and the speakers of two dialects, Maitori and Rongdani, which are in Meghalaya and adjacent borders of Assam, they have still maintained the Rabha speech. And as you can see on the screen, in the last point, the Rabha language, which was once agglutinative in nature, has become inflectional due to influences of Bengali and Assamese. The next slide, please. So, as I had mentioned, that there are different branches of Rabhas. They are Pati, Rangdani, Maitori, Totla, Kocha, Vitolia, Dahuri, Songa, etc. Only the Maitori and Rongdani dialect speakers have maintained their original Rabha speech. The Rabha speakers of the other branches, for example, the Pati, the Totla, Kocha, they have uh, shifted towards Assamese. They speak a different variety of Assamese, which is very similar to the Gwalparia dialect of Assamese, which is found in Western Assam. So, of course, there are bilingual speakers who are very well versed in both Rabha and Assamese. And so, in the socio-cultural context where the dominant language is Assamese in Assam, they prefer to communicate in Assamese. So, thus, linguistically, the majority of the Rabhas at present are Assamese speakers. The next slide. So coming to the third language, which I'll be dealing with, is the Hajong language, and it's the name of an ethnic tribe, and also the language spoken by them is also called by the same name. So Hajong uses a mixture of Assamese and Bengali, involving different dialects of these two languages. So presently, Hajong is also considered as a dialect of Bengali. The Hajong of Assam uses a mixture of Kamrupi and Gwalparia dialects of the Assamese language, and Hajong speakers are also found in West Bengal. And now studies have revealed that Hajong speakers are also there in Bangladesh as well. So Grierson has classified Hajong language as Indo-Aryan, and he has considered it as a sub-dialect of Bengali. The next slide. So, in the Linguistic Survey of India, George Grierson has termed the Hajong language as a corrupt form of Bengali. And so, this is because he considers the Hajong speakers to be originally a Tibeto-Burman clan, which settled in the Mymensingh and Sylhet district, and principally at the foothills of the Garo Hills in Meghalaya and adjacent Assam. So Hajong had earlier been described as a Tibeto-Burman language, but the tribe has long abandoned its original form of speech. So many scholars believe that Hajong belongs to the Boro-Garo group and of Tibeto-Burman language family, and it used to be a Tibeto-Burman language, but now has shifted towards Bengali and Assamese. And many scholars even use the term language replacement. So when we talk about language shift, it is a gradual process, but language replacement is by choice. This choice depends on the socio-political factors as well. So now, therefore, Hajong has been now considered as Indo-Aryan, East Zone Bengali Assamese dialect. The next slide, please. So here, studies have shown that Hajong has much structural difference with other language of the Boro group. However, certain grammatical similarities, such as case markings, can be found between Hajong and some Tibeto-Burman languages spoken in that part in the same geographical location. So it is observed that even though Hajong is considered as a dialect of Bengali, but the case markers in Hajong are not incognate with the neighboring or geographically proximate Indo-Aryan languages, that is Assamese and Bengali. The case markers are not cognate with those two languages. So the origin of such case markers has speculated researchers that Hajong has a Tibeto-Burman substrate. So the next slide, please. So in this paper, I am going to deal with the case markers, the case system. I just try to identify the case markers in the three languages, Koch, Raha, and Hajong. So basically, I'm depending on the secondary sources as I was unable to get a primary data at present. And I'll just compare the case systems of Koch, Raha, and Hajong with that of Assamese and Bengali. Assamese and Bengali are the only two geographically proximate Indo-Aryan languages to which these three languages are gradually shifting. So thirdly, I'll find out the similarities and differences among them, and also try to find out whether there are any linguistic correlation among these three languages. The next slide. So, as I have mentioned, that I'll be dealing with the Harigaya dialect. This dialect is spoken in the Garo Hills of Meghalaya and adjacent areas of Assam. So, the Harigaya dialect of Koch stands on nominative accusative case system. So here, the nominative, the case marker, there are no overt case marker for the nominative case. But here, we can see that Morot, it is a person, and Morota, the ta is it is not a case marker. The a is just uh, an attachment to the noun that expresses definiteness, and it is not a case marker. The genitive is ni, dative na, accusative is na o. You can see the examples on the right side of the screen. The next slide, please. Then we also have markers for locative, temporal, elative, and commutative. So for the locative case, we have the a. Temporal also we have a, and elative and commutative mung. So this data has been collected from Alexander Kondakov. He has studied in the Harigaya dialect in 2020. The next slide, please. So now coming to the next this is I'm dealing with the Koch Rajbanshi. Okay, that means this Koch Rajbanshi has the Koch speakers who have shifted towards the dialect of Bengali. I'm going to deal with that. Here we can see that the nominative case marker is also null here, as we have earlier seen in the Harigaya Koch dialect. So here, but when we look at the dative accusative case marker, it is ka. The dative accusative case marker, it is very similar with Assamese and Hindi, and even with Bengali also. We will look into that in the next coming slides. Next, we come to the genitive marker, or simple r. Locative marker is t, instrumental ablative, they use postposition instead of suffixes. So there are very much similarities with the neighboring Indo-Aryan languages. Uh, Next slide, please. So here you can look at some examples which I have taken from some sources. I've taken the source from this example from Christopher Wilde, 2008. So here you can see that the nominative case is unmarked throughout the three examples, and it is in Koch Rajbanshi. This data is from the uh, speakers from the northwest part of Bengal. The next slide, please. So here you can see the dative accusative marker ka or ak, amha, hamak, a khan, khalsa, o dili. So here you can see the dative accusative marker ak, and at the end of the Assamese and Bengali. So we can look at the comparisons later. Next slide, please. So here I have given three examples of genitive and locative, as you can see on the screen. So due to paucity of time, I'll not be reading everything. I'll just deal with the comparison. The next slide, please. So here I have given one example of the locative, and it is very interesting to see that when the locative case in some cases is formed by the genitive plus postposition. So this structure is very much similar with that of Assamese. So here, more bhitarat, more bhitarat, more bhitrat is actually more ra. Ra is the genitive, bhitrat is the postposition. So it is very similar with that of Assamese. So again, when the locative marker is also used to denote whenever the noun is going towards a particular location. So here you can see gharat, after taking this home. The next slide, please. So I have mentioned some examples of instrumental and ablative case also. The next slide, please. And there is terminative postposition, tuck. This terminative postposition, it is very interesting to look at this tuck. This tuck word is found in Hindi, an Indo-Aryan language. So this tuck has been borrowed from Hindi. It is a direct assimilation of two languages. One from the Koch they have adopted. They have borrowed this tuck, Wahatak, Damak tuck. Tuck, that means where the where something ends. This tuck has been borrowed from Hindi. The next slide, please. So now coming to the case system in Rabha. So here the Rabha case, the words, these suffixes are not in cognate with the Indo-Aryan geographically proximate languages. So here for nominative we have ang, accusative we have o na, instrumental pake or pake, dative a na nake, ablative e para ni para, genitive e and ni, and locative e, gigi, and katang. So I have given some examples of the case system in Rabha. Next slide, please. So here also you can see as per the case markers, I've given some examples. The nominative case is unmarked, and in one case it is marked, it's ang. Whenever it is first person, it's ang. The next slide, please. So I have given some examples of each of the cases, as you can see on the screen. So due to paucity of time, I'll move on to the next slide. So here you can see the examples of dative and ablative. So here in the ablative case, I would like to note that some Rabha speakers, they use the suffix nightping. Nightping is used, but majority of the Rabha speakers are now using the postposition para. This para has been taken from Assamese. In Assamese also, para, the term para is used uh, as ablative case marker. So the para is taken from Assamese, and majority of the Rabha speakers are using this. The next slide, please. So for the locative case, I've given these two examples. The next slide. So coming to the Hajong case system, for the nominative case, we have oi, ra, la. Accusative case, we have gong, ke. Instrumental, we have de, di, du. It is interesting to note that du, it is mid, it is central, this unrounded vowel, back unrounded vowel. It is very much present. Then for dative, we have ge, gong. Ablative, we have la, langang, thokon, tike. Genitive, we have la, lu. Then locative, we have ni, vai. So accordingly, I have given some examples in the coming slides. So here you can see the examples. So I would like to directly come to the next slide where I have dealt with the comparison part. The next slide. So here we can see that when we make a side-by-side comparison, then we can see that in case of the TB languages, the Harigaya Koch, the Koch Harigaya, the Rabha here, and the Indo-Aryan languages, Koch Rajbanshi, IA, Indo-Aryan, Hajong is also classified as Indo-Aryan, Assamese and Bengali. There are similarities between the case markers. The nominative case, in case of Hajong, it is seen that the case markers are not incognate with any of the respective nominative markers of the other languages. In case of the Koch Rajbanshi accusative k or ok, similar accusative case marker is seen in Assamese Indo-Aryan and Bengali K. The k is used in Assamese, Bengali, and even Koch Rajbanshi. Similar is the case with genitive marker. In Koch Rajbanshi, the or the is used, and similarly in Assamese also the and or is used as genitive marker. In Bengali, the is used. But when we look at the case markers of the Tibeto-Burman languages, here, the Harigaya Koch, they use ni, genitive marker. In Rabha also they use ni, genitive marker. But in Hajong, they use la and lu, which are not incognate with any one of the respective case markers. Then, similarly, in case of dative, when we look at the Koch Rajbanshi Indo-Aryan, we see it is up, and in which is very much similar to that of Assamese and Bengali. And the dative case of Koch Harigaya, the Harigaya dialect, is very much similar to that of Rabha. So that means, looking at the data, we can infer that the Harigaya speakers, they have maintained the original the Tibeto-Burman characteristics of the Koch, but now as the Koch speakers of Bengal and Assam have shifted to Bengali and Assamese, they have gradually adopted the features of Assamese and Bengali, which is very much evident from this slide. Coming to the next slide, here also we can see that the case markers of, for example, the uh, 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 Koch Rajbanshi per, Koch Rajbanshi locative marker per. So it is very much similar with that of Hindi. So it has been borrowed from Hindi. And if we look at the instrumental case markers of Koch Rajbanshi, Hajong, Assamese, and Bengali, we find similarities in that. Day in Koch Rajbanshi, in Hajong, it is de, di, and diu. Similarly, in Assamese, it is re, di, and dara. Bengali also da, dara, and kda is used. And we can see in the ablative case. So here in Koch Rajbanshi, it is say. The ablative case marker say. Actually, it is not a suffix, it is a postposition. This say has also been borrowed from Hindi. So, but in Rabha, the para has been borrowed from Assamese. The Rabha ablative case marker para is very much, it's very much similar with that of pora in Assamese. However, in Assamese, the genitive marker la is used plus pora is used. Then again, in case of the terminative case marker in Koch Rajbanshi, tak, it is borrowed from Hindi. In Assamese, it is loike or ole. And again, as you can see, that
I'm sorry
there
to
are,
interrupt, Angshu, but you have to wind up. You have only 5 minutes.
yes, thank you, ma'am. Yes. So as you can see that the Indo-Aryan the languages classified as Indo-Aryan have similar case markers, and the case markers of Harigaya, Koch, Rabha, and Hajong has dissimilarities with the Indo-Aryan counterparts. But we can see that the Harigaya Koch markers have that the Harigayas, as the Harigaya Koch speakers have been living in Meghalaya Garo Hills, and they have not been in touch with the speakers of Bengali and Assamese much, so they have been able to retain their original speech. But the Koch Rajbanshi, they have assimilated themselves with the culture and the language of the spoken in Bengal and Assam. So they are using more similar case markers like Assamese and Bengali. So with this, I come to an end of my presentation. So these are the references which I have used.
Okay, thank you, Angshu.
Thank you
The
so
room is
much.
open for discussion. If there's any question or anything. I just want to make one observation regarding the ablative case para in Rabha. Actually, it didn't borrow from Assamese. It's the other way around, because you will find this ablative case para as fry in Boro. You'll find it as prang in Dimasa. You'll also find it in Garo. It's a Bodo Garo feature. So, there are some morphological features that are shared between Assamese and Bodo Garo. So not all the features that you find in Rabha, which are not similar to the other languages that you have given, and then if they're similar to Assamese, does not necessarily mean that they have borrowed from Assamese. It's the other way around for this ablative case. And Hajong, the case markers that you have given for Hajong, even if it's an Indo-Aryan Creole, these are not Indo-Aryan case markers at all. So you need to look at the other dialects of Koch to compare, because Koch is mutually unintelligible, in terms of the dialectal variation. So you have to look deeper and you have to study these case markers. Was I audible enough?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am, Caroline.
For Koch, I think the researcher, if he comes to Garo Hills, inside Garo Hills, West Garo Hills especially, and perhaps South Garo Hills, I think he will find genuine Koch speakers. Those Koch speakers might be a little different from the language that they speak, might be a little different from the Koch spoken in parts of Assam. And we all know that many dialects of Koch, have disappeared because we know the thing, because of assimilation into the local population, Assam is speaking, Gwalpare is speaking, etc. So this is an observation which I could make. Thank you.
Monali.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I heard the paper. It's quite interesting because the researcher has managed to bring in a comparative data. Because I have two questions. One is that is it primary source, or because there is a mention of secondary sources here, right? Has the researcher investigated all the languages? And then there is another thing about the nominative case, where we find that in some examples, nominative is null, and in some it has an overt case marker. I think so the subject case needs to be looked at in detail, because there could be ergative case here. Angshu, Hazardika, I think so. If you could explain what's happening. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your observation, ma'am. Firstly, I have taken the data from secondary sources. I have not gone on field for data collection. So this area needs to be studied more from my end. on primary data, but due to for this initial investigation, I have considered secondary sources. And coming to the next question, the nominative the markers. In some cases, there is an overt marker. Yes, there is ergative is an agentive markers also. For example, in Assamese, a nominative, so it is an agentive marker A, and in some cases it is null.
If you investigate Assamese properly,
Yes.
A is not always an agentive.
Yes, yes, not always agentive. Yes.
Not agentive, so we cannot call it an agentive marker, right? So
Yes.
there are conditions. But even with experiencer verbs, you have the A marker. Rame bhoy khale,
Yes.
Rame bhat khale. They're both same constructions, but the verbs are different,
Different.
right? So
Yes.
bhat khale would be agentive, but bhoy khale is not
Yes.
agentive. So A cannot be just concluded to be an agentive marker. Language has to be investigated before we come to any conclusion. Okay, it's interesting though, and all the best.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inputs to further help in Angshu's research. Since we are running short of time, so all the questions can be addressed in the chat box, and Angshu can definitely respond to one of the questions which is there in the chat box, and I request the others also to do the same. So now we proceed to the next presenter, and in their presentations, or there are two presenters, Dinkur Bora and Amalesh Gope, and they will be presenting on copula clauses in Langa, a syntactic observation. So Dinkur is here, I guess. So please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Is my paper, presentation visible?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topic of our presentation is clauses in Langa, syntactic observation. At first, I would like to brief the paper. As we all know that a sentence is formed or structured with subject and predicate in general, where predicate consists of a verb or verb with another phrase. The function of copula in a sentence is to connect or to link, which is also popularly known as connecting verb, of two co-arguments. And it also bears the grammatical information, especially time features, in our language, and agreement as well as in some other languages. Copula verb refers relational meaning of two co-arguments, where it reflects the identity or the attribution of the same argument.
Can you be a bit louder, Dinkur? Just raise your voice. Yeah.
The language which is taken to study is Langa. It belongs to the Sanatorian language family. Further, it can be classified into Tibeto-Burman, then Kokishin Naga, then Ao, then Imchungri. In the 18th edition of the Ethnologue 115.
Sorry to interrupt, Dinkur. Are you using a headphone?
No, ma'am.
The voice is like high and low. Yeah, no problem. Just
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In the 18th edition of the Ethnologue 115, I just stated that there are 6 varieties of Imchung. One is Tikir, Wei, Chir, Minir, Funungru, and Langa. And Tikir, which is earlier counted as a part of Imchung community, as distinct community. This is the phylogenetic tree of Langa, which is based on matters of 1978, 2015, Blance and Post 2014, Manghan, Zhang, and Shi Yan 2019. Here we have colored the linked languages, which is closely related to Langa. The data which is discussed here in this paper is based on Langa, which is spoken in the 20th one, and the Samato district of Nagaland. This is the map which shows the distributions of Tuensang district and its dialects. There are some criteria to recognize a verb as copula. A copula verb must be able to occur with two co-arguments, copula subject and copula complement. It has a relational rather than a referential meaning. It is used for at least the relation of A1, that is identity, this NPS complement, and A2, that is attribution, adjective as copula complement. In each specific language, copula construction marks a range of relation between CS and CC. That is depending in large part on the nature of CC or copula complement. Dixon stated that a copula will always cover relations A1 and identity, that is A2, and also A3, possessions, and in Lana, the copula construction also A5, which is location, takes the copula line. The concept of copula, that is CS, or copula complement, CC, often overlaps with the concept of verb-based copula and copula. A verb-based clause expression is distinct from a copula clause, where in some languages, the copula verb may be omitted in specific In Lana, copula inflects like other action verbs. The emphasis usually affixes with copula la. There is invariability of copula for different tenses, or different non-verbal predicates. A copula verb must occur with two co-arguments, as we have mentioned in the earlier slides. In nominal copula is a nominal category. In sentence 1, a nominal argument, that is NP, Tulu Wasakru Po Lang, field workers, fills the predicate slot of the sentence. The past tense marker, along with the declarative marker, affixes with the copula. The function of copula brings the relational meaning of CS, copula subject, with the copula complement as identity. The argument copula complement identifies the nature of copula subject. The numeral classifier lang only emphasizes the argument. Copula complement refers only option for identity of the argument copula subject connected by the copula line. Along with the functions as connector or linked verb, copula also gives the time reference or other verbal properties of the language. The examples 2 and 3 show that the predicate slot of the sentence are filled with copula complement. By nominal the nominal predicate is used for a nominal function. The negative reflection of the sentence shows the necessity of the presence of the copula verb. The examples are shown here. Adjective or predicate. Most linguists define the term predicate as everything in a clause but the subject. In a simple way, we call copula verb and copula complement. Copula subject takes the focus or finite, so definite, or demonstrative marker of particular thing or to focus on an argument. Dixon 2009 uses the term or A2 to define the relation of adjective as copula complement and NPS copula subject. The nature of CC copula complement in an adjectival predicate is adjective. In Lana, the adjective which occurs in the complement position of the clause precedes the copula verb, where other properties are suffixed. The past tense marker kya infixes in between the copula and mood marker. Here. The copula complement slot may also be filled by an NP or nominal argument where the copula subject possesses the argument copula complement. The distinction between the two elements of clause predicate and argument can be observed by looking at the nature of occurrence in sentence. Here we have an argument in Lange shows both complement as a separate entity and as a host of grammatical information. Possibility is on subject entity in Lange relations here. The morpheme is a reduced form of possessive case marker, where the morpheme you is used nominal is not allowed to position. We have some more examples about possessive predicate on possessive. The preferred order for copula clauses in Lange is NPs in CS, but or files is follows it. The phrase is the main content of a locative predicate. So we have some examples. Copula indicates semantic relations between copula subject and copula complement. In Lange, the copula verb contains declarative marker which the semantic relations can be predicted by the context without affecting the sense or structure of the sentence. We can claim it as absolutely appreciable in identity relations. Although it is two core arguments, it has two core arguments. A copula clause construction is distinct from transitive. Lange uses an argative marker for the subject of a verb, but the copula argative marking instead it receives a focus or demonstration. In a possessive predicate construction, it receives a grammatical morpheme that is a, which is assumed as a reduced form of the possessive mark. Besides intransitive and transitive clause types in Lange, copula clause construction where a copula verb indicates a type of relation between its two arguments, that is copula subject and copula complement. A copula shows the relation of identity and or attribution, and also often positions and location. In Lange, copula verb can be omitted in certain circumstances. For instance, in positive identity, and that is the one relation, but not in negative identity, A1 relations. Even if the copula verb is omitted in A1, the semantic relations of the argument can be easily understood by the structure of the language or the complement. In Lange, an NP functioning as CC, the nominal predicate can optionally be host for affixing grammatical informations. For instance, declared. These are my references. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dinkur. Somehow we could read the slides and catch you in what you were trying to present. So the room is open for discussion. We have 15 minutes of time. So participants are requested to unmute themselves and ask questions or leave questions in the chat box.
Monali?
Yes, Subrao sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. I really missed the link because I did not get any information about this conference. Can you believe it? I just, Kim Wi-Fi told me just now. Immediately I logged into it. So I feel very sad and bad that I missed the whole thing. But anyway, I caught up with the train in the last minute. All right. Okay. I have a question about the possessive for this gentleman, Dinkur, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Dinkur,
yes, sir.
you said that Jo and A are alternates. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
That looks very far-fetched to me. So if you want to claim this, you have to have a little bit more evidence to show that A is really a possessive. Like, let us take some example like Ram's book. Can you get the A there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the same A.
Yeah.
Okay, but then what makes you think that Joe and R are alternates?
Sir, I and you both has similar functions.
Similar?
Functions. In a
Can we
sentence.
go back to the examples again?
Yes, sir.
Dinku, your slide is not moving.
That is what, ma'am, I'm trying.
Are you trying, Dinku?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe let someone ask any question, then we can come back.
Yeah, or Bijan, do you have Dinku's slide to just show it?
No, I don't.
Okay. Dinku, quickly, can you please send it to Bijan? I think your PPT is kind of...
I have
yours-
sent. Yes, I
Okay,
have
okay.
sent.
Jinkur, if
Okay.
you remember the example, at least by in memory, not exactly identical example, can you tell us what exactly is the structure? Where does Joe come?
So are you talking about not Joe? There is
No, he said that Joe, I is a possessive marker, right?
Yes.
Is there any other possessive marker?
I and you. Not Joe, sir. Joe
Ah, yo, I said, that's why I was
Joe is
saying
a
Joe,
different-
but it's, yeah,
Joe is
yo.
a- Joe
So,
is a different marker in our language. Joe is a different marker.
where does the yo come?
Yes, sir, that is what. No, so we can replace both I and you.
Freely.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, all right then. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, Subarao sir. Actually, the mail was sent to everyone, but maybe it came in spam, or maybe there were so many mails you have
It
missed.
disappeared, I think. I feel too bad, but anyway, never too late.
Yes. Good to see you here, sir.
Yes, good to see you too, and good to see others. I hope we get to see everybody. You should have a photo of the group at the end.
Yes, yes.
Tell
We're
people
going to have it. We're going to have it today
Okay,
during the
good.
closing ceremony.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you, Monari. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, Bijan, the PPT, you just shared it, no? Can you please reshare it? Or that and yeah. Those. So, Dinkur, the same question in relation to what browser has asked. Can you replace here with yeah? Oh, sorry, yo.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is there any pragmatic difference when you have and when you have yo? There must be some kind of, contextual differences in terms of its use, right? Have you tried to explore into it?
No, ma'am, not yet. I will look into this.
Okay.
You see, what you have to see, Dinkur, what are the places in which the genitive occurs?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
And see in all the places, in all those environments, can they be replaced by each other?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. If you can prove that, then of course you can conclude that they are alternates.
Yes. Sir.
Your conclusion is very correct. I don't have much to say, but I was wondering if we can find some evidence.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's an interesting paper.
Thank you, sir. Bobita, do you have a question? I saw you unmuting yourself.
I don't have item, it's okay.
Okay. Any questions? Any suggestions? Okay, if there is no question, then we can proceed with the next presentation. Thank you, Dinkur. So the next presenter is Bobita Sarangthem, and she will be presenting on functions of in marker in the Session language. Kindly share your screen, Bobita. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. A very good evening to all. Today, the topic is on functions of in marker in Session. Let me begin with it. It's not moving, I get.
You have to, yeah.
So when we talk about Session, is a Kuki-Chin language of the Tibeto-Burman family, and Tuambum or Kennedy Pig in the Chin state of Burma, this Myanmar, is a lane of their heritage, and in the Chin population, the Session are a minority, about 10,000 in number. Session is the name of the language and the community. It is also known as Seen, which is the transliteration of Standard Burmese as per Stern in 1961. So, but the later generations and offsprings who continue to live on adopted Session as their ethnic identity. The present analysis is the Session Seen language spoken in Tamil, which is under the Sagaing division of Myanmar, which is located at Indo-Myanmar border, about 115 kilometers southeast from Imphal, Manipur. To give a brief morphosyntactic overview, Session share characteristic features of verbal agreement paradigm, where both the pre-verbal and post-verbal agreement are found. Verb shows subject agreement for all person, and numbers like singular and plural, which is exemplified as follows. So for the sentence like K an kanehi, which means I eat rice, the agreement with K is always goes with the pre-verbal ka, with the very verb ne. Same thing for the second person, nang an nanehi. For the third person, ama an anehi, and it is also possible for reflecting the numbers by kau an nekhuhi. So when we talk about the thing is that it is in this language, it is possible with the post-verbals also in place of the pre-verbal. So it is possible to say that instead of saying kai an kanehi as in pre-verbal agreement, it is possible to have the post-verbal agreement such as kai an nekhi. Ki is the post-verbal, whereas ka in the example one is that of the pre-verbal agreement. Now in this presentation, I'll discuss the functions of in marker. The primary function of in marker in Session is an imperative constructions where it is suffixed to verb. Now, imperatives, as we know, are verb forms or construction types that are used to directly command the addressee to perform some action, as per Payne in 1997. In Session, the distinctions between declarative, interrogative, and imperative constructions are shown by distinct verbal suffixes. For instance, Kai sumbuk a kapai tuhi means I'll go to the market. Now, for an interrogative, nang sumbuk a napai tu museum means will you go to the market? For an imperative, sumbuk a pain means go to the market. So there is a distinction between this, which is reflected in the verbal suffixes by he for the declarative, zium for the interrogative, and in for the imperative construction. In imperative construction, verbal agreement are not present. However, numbers are shown. such as singular imperative in and plural imperative un. For instance, dingin means singular. Obviously, the default reference is second person, so stand up. And if it is dingun, it means the pluralities of the subject, that is the second persons. And same thing, kinging, call in means get ready, and kingin, call un for the pluralities of the second person's reference. So the language too has polite imperative, which is formed by the combination of polite marker ta and imperative in, giving in tan and ta, and the combinations of the plural is shown by u with un. So the insertions of the glides takes place and it sounds like tone respectively. So hong pai tan, here the cislocative hong, and if it combines with pai, if you want to say in a very polite manner, please come hong pai tan. Same thing for the plural. Again, polite imperative may be marked by adding some other polite markers. Namely, it could be o and a suffix to the verb, not only with in as an imperative, not only tan or tawun as polite imperative. In addition to that, we could also see that o and a when suffix to the verb, it also be function as a polite imperative. For instance, tau means be seated, and nangil kla means you must be very hungry. So we could see that the degree of politeness is higher when the particle for is added to the verb and followed by the polite marker o. So anne for o means please have food, and in this language the very hortative imperative is also being present, which is formed by the suffixation of a causative marker to the verb followed by imperative marker in, like ama an huan suck in. So let him cook, or amamu suck in, let him sleep. So Sisang in, it also operates with prohibitive negations, which is hiak, forming prohibitive imperatives when suffixed with the verb. So lao hiak in means don't be afraid, and for high hiak in means don't be late. So the language can also change a commanding sound with prohibitive negation to lesser abrupt ways by using negative marker such as pamusa bong, like please don't mind. Two words with the same spelling and pronunciations are homonymous, that is, they are homonyms as per Agmaison's, you can see with the definition. So you see here the marker in, apart from functioning as imperative marker, it can also function as an ergative marker. This is illustrated as follows. So Tom in Mike Asad, he, here it means Tom bids Mike. So here in the very transitive verb, we could see that if in is being placed right after the subject, it denotes the ergative. So Sisang shows ergative assolutive where object is unmarked and the transitive subject is marked with ergative marker in. The first person and third person's pronoun changes their forms when ergative marker is added, leading to contractions such as can or aman in this very language. Interestingly, in also functions as manner of adverb marker, like ama dum in avag, he means he or she walks very slowly. Kau palpal in ku chia to he, we will return quickly. So usually in complete reduplication, the manner of adverb are marked with the marker in. It may be a matter of mere accident or coincidence that the word e also denotes the very word home or house, that is in. In a brief presentation, I just want to conclude that in has different syntactic functions. It functions for the imperative construction, prohibitive negation, ergative marker, and adverbial markers, especially the manner of adverbs are discussed in this paper. This paper would be helpful to relate with other Caucasian languages from the perspectives of comparative studies in the family of Tibeto-Burman in Northeast India. This is the Session community, which I have taken a photograph of it, where the village and the household is here. And I have taken a photograph with a family member and the traditional attire. So with this, Lungdamo, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bobita, for this very interesting presentation on the in marker in Session. And the room is open for discussion. We have enough time to ask questions.
Monali, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, please.
Bobita,
Yes, sir.
nice to see you
Oh, sir, thank you so much.
after a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
My simple question is the following. You said dumb is the adverb for slow. Am I right?
Dumb is a slow. Yes, sir.
Damin. Like
Yes.
Mizo also has the same thing. Mar has the same thing. Many
Yes,
Caucasians
yes.
have, you know.
Yes.
Okay. What is interesting in these languages is the adverb, like slow, fast, it can also occur to the right of the verb.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have an example like that? This is like Mizo, like Lala, Chaktakin, Atlan.
Yes, sir.
Lala runs fast.
Yeah.
Then I can put check with the verb. I can also say Lala, Atlan, Chak. You can do it in Wi-Fi. Kim Wi-Fi is there. She can vouch for it. And you can do it in Hamar, in many other languages.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you have something like that in your language.
Yes, sir. It is very much. Yes, sir. It's there.
So have you ever tried to see what adverbs can be there? One is manner adverbs can easily come there.
Okay, so yeah, even for the time also, say a long time. So it will be like dang lai in, like in also follows indicating the long time ago in the very.
No. What I'm asking is, can adverbs come to the right of the verb?
No, sir. No, sir. Left. Yes, sir.
No, I think next time when you go to the field,
okay,
try to check.
Oh, sure.
I can send you the Mizo examples.
Yeah.
Kim can send you the Wi-Fi examples.
Okay, sir.
You can see. Okay,
Sure.
that's an interesting feature.
Yes,
I think if I remember correctly, Angami also has something like that. Mimi, are you there?
Mimi is not there today.
And I think one question is there, isn't it? Like,
yes, from Raju.
Yeah, is there any instances of case syncretism in the language? Regarding this, I don't find any syncretism in this language. They have a distinct, except with the locative, yes, instrumental is there. So that is the only thing. Instrumental and commutatives are syncretized. Yes, that is the only thing.
Okay, Bobita.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good to hear get a paper from Session.
Yes, sir.
So one of the places where the in marker can occur is also with comparative, right? Comparative, sang in. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Comparative, and then with comparative you get the in marker as well. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then you talk about what you call some adverbs. So in addition to adverbs, what you call, mainly they occur in subordinate clauses. So you can have in with complementizer clause like quotative complementizer. T in kind of.
Yeah.
So there is another place where you get this.
Yeah. True.
And also these function as what you call, even in what closed chains, in closed changing particles, if you have 2 or 3 clauses, so these are connected. So it performs the role of what linking different clauses. Sometimes subordinate with the main clause. At times you can have 2 equal syntactic structure being linked by this in marker in the case of Thado and other languages.
Yes.
So in their case, we call them participial is what general what you call South Asian linguist follows, participial marker. So
yes,
the term is not fully derived, but these are the places where you get the function of the different function of the morpheme in.
yes. Thank you so much, sir, for that comment. Yeah, I'll put into it. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Any other questions? There can also be questions for the other participants also, because they didn't get that much of time for the discussion. So we have at least 20 minutes of time to do the discussion now. Bobita, I just want to ask, the in marker in your data, you have given it as, it marks for imperative mood, basically. What about the ergative case or the agentive case or optionality? Does it occur as in there as well?
I put it up as it's an homonym, of course, because the sense, the meaning is very apart from each other. But here, why is it? Because it is the spelling in and the pronunciation in are very much similar with it. And when it aids to the transitive subject, yes, it definitely acts as an ergative marker. Otherwise, if we talk of any of the imperative constructions, in is the only thing which from there it can alter to numbers. That is the only thing. Otherwise, in remains as it. And in addition to that, even with the adverbs also, I've come the same thing. Same thing in the sense, of course, it's a homonym. So it is again that thing is visible in this very analysis. That is the thing which I just want to highlight on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the first example that you have given of those 3 sentences, with we'll go to the market, we'll go to the market and go to the market, another one. I was quite intrigued, as in like how, the marker that comes after the verb keeps changing based on that. Can you please show that slide if possible?
Is it visible now?
No, you have to share your screen.
Well, this is not working. One second. I have one second while just.
No problem.
Yeah, sure. There it is.
Are you able to open it, Bobita? If there are any questions, meanwhile, you can still keep yourselves ready, or you can raise your hand so that we can see it, or you can put your questions in the chat box. For all the three presenters. Are you able to share the screen, Bobita?
Yes. I have just logged out. That's why now I have been logged in and I'll save it now.
Okay. Yeah, the second slide.
Second.
Yeah. So not the second, I mean, after that. Yeah. Yes, third slide. Yeah. This one.
Here it is. Is it coming? Is it?
Not this one. I think it's the other one where you had the go to the market, right? That example.
Okay.
Oh yes, this one.
This one.
Right.
Yeah. In the imperative, as the reference of the subject is second person only. So by default it is known. So by just saying Sumbuka Pain, definitely it refers to the second person, singular. Is this what you were asking about?
Yeah, I just missed that sentence 6, so I just wanted to see. Okay.
Like if it is a declarative statement, obviously by the presence of the declarative marker, he will mark it. In the case of interrogative with the zium, but in the case of imperative construction, with the presence of in, it goes with this.
Okay.
Does it suffice?
Yeah, thank you so much for the effort.
Actually, I just locked it up.
What about the future marker? Kei sumbuka kapai tuhi.
Yeah, sir, that two future marker also we can use it, sir. Yeah.
No. The gloss is I will go to the market, but in the sentence gloss, you don't find there. So to my mind, two indicates future reading.
Yeah. Two is a future one, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because both 6 and 8 kind of indicate future. Go to the market is also indicating you have to go to the market in the future.
So instead of writing irrelis, why not put future? So that it becomes easier.
Yeah, that is also.
Any other questions?
How do you manage to collect the data from, as you have mentioned, it is a language spoken in Myanmar?
It's my research work, so I've been there for several times.
Okay.
It's at Tamu, which is near the Naga church, where my informants were there. So from there, I used to collect.
Okay, so this is spoken in Tamu area.
Yeah. Actually, they are from Thuklai, but they come down to that Sagaing divisions and they settle there. So I used to access through it.
So, Bobita, what is the difference between the Ding-in and Ding-un? Just now we just saw the...
1 second, sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, that you had the examples in and un, the allomorphs. What are the differences?
In and un.
Yeah.
Yeah, in is singular and un is plural.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Monali, I think a couple of questions are there in the chat box.
Yes. I think Marina has a question.
Can in on the verb also be a conjunctive participle? That is what it can be, But we need inna, it will come. If you talk about the conjunctive participle, it will be inna, will be there, but in alone cannot be.
So with the in, another suffix
Yeah, inna. Okay. Because R is a conjunctive.
Any more questions? If not, then we can proceed with the next presentation. The next presenter is Lobila Tsupo, and she will be presenting on subject case marking in LOTA, a preliminary syntactic account. Lobilo, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, so your screen will be shared by Vijan. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, the topic of my presentation for this paper is subject case marking in LOTA, a preliminary syntactic account. LOTA is a central Naga Tibeto-Burman language spoken in Nagaland. This paper presents a preliminary account of the case properties of the subject in LOTA and show how they are dependent on the predicate type, highlighting thereby a difference between psych predicates, adjectival predicates, and ordinary predicates in terms of the structure of big VP and small VP they constitute. The following are the 4 subject markers in LOTA discussed here. For the first one, we have the pronominal subject markers, yo and no. For the nominal subject marker, we have jo. And the third, we have the na marker. In pronominal subjects, the system of marking the pronominal subject marker is the same in contrast to psych predicate. Under pronominal subject markers, we have 3 division of groups. The first one is the regular predicate. Regular predicate regular predicate are those predicate which are neither adjectival predicate or psych predicate, or can be termed as a sentence containing a verb describing as a sentence containing a verb stating something about the subject. In regular predicate, example number 1, let's take an example. Let me take from singular person, ayo machianji zocho, which means I ate the chili curry. And for first person and for singular third person, the pronominal subject marker is unmarked in LOTA. So it will be like umpo machianji zocho, which means he or she ate the chili curry. And for plural, we have nde no machianji zocho, which means you ate the chili curry. In the next group, we have the adjectival predicate, ayom hona, which means I am good, mbom hona, he or she is good, onde nom hona, you are good. In psych predicate, psych predicates indicates the psychological state of the mind or the physical state of the body of the subject in the sentence. So for psych predicate, it is again further divided into subsections, that is A, B, and C. We see that in the singular person, the markers are dropped. It's ananongrala, ninanongrala, umbonanongrala, which means I am feeling sad, you are feeling sad, she is feeling sad. For sub B, enyo, nino, onyo, we see that in dual person, the subject, the pronominal subject marker jo is consistent, and here we have enyo nongrala, which means we are feeling sad. And for sub C, we have we see that the first person plural and second person plural marker pronominal subject markers are unmarked, but on the other hand, the third person plural marker pronominal subject marker is marked with no. So we have onde no nongrala, which means they are feeling sad. Eyo no nongrala means we are feeling sad. Nde nongrala means we are you are feeling sad. The third person pronominal subject case is unmarked in psych predicate. Except for dual pronominal subject case and third person plural pronominal subject case, the rest of the markers are dropped. And we have already seen that in the preceding. So now moving on to nominal subjects. Sir, could you please? Sir, could you please? Yes. For nominal subjects, in the case of nouns, the subject case for regular, adjectival, and side predicate is marked by the same marker, jo. For regular predicate, adjectival predicate, and side predicate in nominal subjects, the nominal subject marker is consistent, that is marked by jo. For number 4, regular predicate, we have chimney jo machanji zocho, which means chimney ate the chili curry. For adjectival predicate number 5, we have chimney jo mona, which means chimney is good. For side predicate number 6, we have chimney jo nongrala, which means chimney is feeling sad. As you can see in the table, the system of, as you can see in the table, the markers for regular predicate and adjectival predicate is the same in contrast to side predicate, whereas again, for the nominal subject markers, the marker jo is consistent for all regular, adjectival, and side predicate. Sir, could you please move the slide? Yeah. Number 5, we have the na marker, which is a question whether it's an adjunctive marker or something else. But from example 7 and 8, from example 7, chimney na tapuji in sacho, chimney mopped or cleaned the floor, and example 8, then a yongcho, chimney ran, which can be summarized in a brief schema of Roman number 1 and 2, showing the transitive and intransitive. Yeah. Looking at example 7 and 8, one can conclude that Lotha shows the nominative accusative pattern following Dixon's 1979 traditional pattern for deciding the language alignment. However, na can be replaced by the pronominal subject markers no, yo, and nominal case markers jo in the subject position for both transitive and intransitive sentences. So taking the example of 7 and 8, chimney anatapuchi nsacho, which means I cleaned the floor or mopped the floor, and ana yongcho, which means I ran. And then we have the jo marker for nominal subject, that is chimney jo tapuji in sacho, which means chimney cleaned or mopped the floor, chimney jo yongcho, which means chimney ran. The marker na, like na lotha in Maitalon, has been related to instrumental case, contrastive focus, and subjects of a causative verb, and not limited to just conscious agents, actors alone. Singh et al. 2015. The function of na in lotha is unspecified, but it looks like it is performing more functions and hence needs to be investigated further. Sir, could you please move the slide up where the table is shown? Yeah, so we see that in pronominal subject markers in plural, first person, we have 2 forms, that is a and ete. The difference between this is a is exclusive and ete is inclusive. And for a form, we cannot use the marker no, and for ete form, we cannot use the marker yo. So in a context, or for example, we will go to the market. So when the addressee, when the speaker is trying to address something to the addressee, but that addressee isn't included in the action of them going to the market. For example, we will go to the market. Here, the addressee isn't included. That's why it is exclusive. Whereas on the other hand, for the later one, that is ete form, the addressee is also included in the action of them going to the market. Sir, could you please move the slide? Yeah. Now for the analysis section. Yeah, for the analysis, a broad analysis predicting the 3 splits, namely 1, across predicate types, which we can already see in the table, regular and adjectival versus psych. Then 2, we have across pronominals and nominals, and 3, across different pronominals, can be attempted on the basis of different places of base generation of the subject argument. The head responsible for case checking and richness of the TP and NP layer representing the pronominals respectively. This is shown only schematically in the following. So Lotha have three splits. So for split 1, we have between regular adjective versus psych. In the left side of the split 1, which is the psych predicate, the incorporation is happening between NP to VP. So this, so incorporation meaning here, the NP is incorporated into the verb. And for split number 2, we have the verses between pronominals and nominals. In pronominals, the structure is, we have TP structure, and for nominals, we have NP structure. And for split number 3, in split number 3, we see the richness of the TP, and this is the most complex tree here. So we and it is within the pronominals. So we claim that the TP has extra layers of NP. NP meaning number P, depending on whether it is singular, dual, or plural, and the case properties change. Don't have an explanation for that as of yet, but we would like to take the analysis from there. Sarah, could you please move down? Yeah. So in conclusion, since LOTA has a split in the pronominal subject case marking, and the markers are different across pronominals and nominals, the heads responsible for case marking are different, which varies with the predicate type and the extra num head. Here standing for number rather than numerical, in some pronominals, and its absence in some others, determine different cases on a pronominal subject. However, this is work in progress, and we hope to construct a more coherent account of pronominal cases in future. Thank you.
That was pretty fast, Lobilo. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful presentation on the subject case marking in LOTA. And participants can ask questions. You can unmute yourself, raise your hand, leave a question in the chat box. Any questions?
Monali.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know why, when why is she taking only the adjectival predicate as example? Because she's looking into the copula. Why not the nominal predicate? Is there some restriction or nominal predicate? Yes, I'd like to know that. When she talks about pronominal subject and regular, transitive, and then it's in the adjective and not the nominal predicate. A couple of them.
Right. Like, how will it be when you say like I am Lobilo Tsupu?
Ayo Lobilo Tsupoi, because I will have the pronominal subject marker yo, ma'am.
And what about all the pronouns having yo?
Yo.
All the nominal subjects? Nominal.
For subjects, both for common and proper noun, we have the jo marker, ma'am.
Okay. So that doesn't matter. Like, so you don't have to show it separately that for nominal predicates, the subject patterns as jo, so you don't have to show it separately, I suppose. Yeah. Now
Yes,
I get it. So you're going to work on a theoretical framework, minimalism?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Good paper, good data.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you just show that table? Yeah, just wanted to see once again. Thank you, ma'am, for that. I was also wondering about that nominal predicate thing.
Below, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, sir.
You said 2022 you have another paper, or you are referring to the same paper?
This paper, sir.
So you said Tsupo 2022. I saw some reference somewhere.
To be cited as.
Oh, to be cited. Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Not much work is there on Lotha, as far as I know. Is there a lot of work?
No, sir.
Are you the first one then?
I'm
More or
not
less.
too sure, but
Congratulations.
thank you.
So what are you planning to work on?
On theory, sir. Yeah.
No, some topic you must have chosen or not yet?
No, not finalized yet, sir, because there are so many topics to choose from.
It's open.
I have to talk to my supervisor.
Yes. So much is there, yeah. Tanmay is the super.
Yes, sir. He is my supervisor.
Okay, good, good. Very happy to hear.
Thank you.
Very happy.
I think Tanmay sir is also here, sir. Subram sir, Tanmay sir is also here.
Tanmay, you're there?
Yeah, he's
No,
there.
I can't hear him.
You can unmute yourself, Tanmay sir.
I am unmuted.
Yeah, Subram, hi. Hello.
Hi, nice to see you.
Oh, nice to see you.
After ages.
Yes.
Good, good. I'm happy that she's working on Lotha.
Yeah. She's a Lotha speaker. I think first time maybe in our department.
Yeah, and there's no Lotha work. There's no work on Lotha at all.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
So a big responsibility on Lobilo. Yeah.
And on you too.
I didn't okay, sir. I'm at safe hands.
No, I think Madhumita's question is right, because traditionally in English, when you look at this kind of predicate distinction, you look at regular predicates, adjectival predicates, and nominal predicates. And the standard theory is that regular predicate, there is the copula is with the verb, whereas for adjectival and nominal, the copula has to be separately available. So that way, nominal should be included in the paradigm. And as it turns out, it behaves the same way as the adjectival and the regular predicates. So this is basically psych predicates versus the rest kind of story.
Yeah, got it. It's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. It is good work.
Lobilo, are Joe and you, are they allomorphs?
Haven't gone into that. Haven't investigated that, ma'am. But I feel like they have two different function, because you is only for first person singular, and then no for second person singular. And we cannot be using ano, or I cannot be using neo. So
but they both mark the they both mark the subject, right?
Yeah, for pronominal subject marker, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, I think you can investigate that.
That's a surprising thing. That's why I think she's suggesting that how rich is the structure of the subject, especially where it's pronominal. So there is a split where there's pronominal versus nominals, common nouns and proper nouns versus pronominals. But within pronominals, it is much more interesting and much more complex. So at this stage, we are thinking that maybe it has to do with the richness of the NP structure. So if there's an extra layer or something, that kind of affects the case marking. Otherwise, you won't expect a different case marking for pronominals with second person pronominal, first person pronominal. I mean, normally, standard theory prediction would be, case marking would be same. But here it is not same, and I think other languages too. So we need to look more closely, not just at the predicate, like whether it's adjectival or nominal or regular or psych predicate, but also at the pronominal structure.
Right. All the best to you, Lobilo.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any questions or comments? Any suggestions?
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for the paper. This is in continuation with the observation that whether yo and Joe could be related or not.
For yo, we use it only for second person singular. For Joe, it is specifically for noun nominal subject markers, that is for, either for common or proper noun.
Yeah, so it is historically it is very easy to derive yo from Joe. It is just a case of softening.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes, this phonological apparent similarities can be quite deceptive. And I think, just one perspective is sometimes mislead you to the wrong path. Therefore, I think it is important to look at the predicate, look at the type of the pronominal which is being case marked. So that's what I think she is doing, trying to see why there's a distinction within pronominals. But there is a clear-cut difference between nominals and pronominals.
Yes, I fully agree. Yes, this and also pronominal systems. Anyways, we expect reduced systems. Shorter forms,
yes,
softened forms. So I think in that sense, it is a softened form. Yo.
Yeah, that's quite likely. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Niranjan, for your input. Any other comments? We have so much time. We were running short of time initially, but now we have so much time.
Yeah, she finished in, I think, 12, 13 minutes or something.
She finished it in 10 minutes.
10 minutes, oh, okay.
Meanwhile, is Samir ready with your PPT? Samir, are you ready?
Yeah, Monali, yeah.
Oh, okay, fine then. Okay. So then we can start with Samir Debbama's presentation. Thank you, Lobilo Tsopo, for your presentation. And
Thank
we
you,
look
ma'am, for
forward
having me.
we look forward to more similar presentation from you. So next presenter and the last for this session is Samir Debbarma from Tripura University and he will be presenting on imperative construction in corpora. Yeah.
Monali, is it visible?
It is not full screen. It's kind of loading, but then it's not full screen yet. Maybe you can give the PPT to Bijan because from his window it is full screen. You can give it to Bijan. He's sharing all the PPTs for the participants.
Bijan's WhatsApp number, okay.
Yeah, you can send it in WhatsApp. And meanwhile, just to make an announcement that the last session for today will start at 6:30, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. and it will be chaired by, not me because I have done the chairing for this session. So it will be done by Callan Parker Van Dam, University of Zurich and La Trobe. So after that will be the closing ceremony at 8 p.m. And we request all the participants to be there because in the last session, because we'll be taking a group photo and we need to hear feedback from you.
Yeah, Bijan, I have just sent it to you.
Yes, just give me 1 minute.
You have received it, Pigeon?
Yes, yeah, I'm sharing it.
Okay. Yeah, we can see it full screen. Yeah, Samir, you can start.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening to everyone. My paper is imperative construction in Koch Brook. So introduction, as we all know, that Koch Brook belongs to Bodo Garo subgroup of Tibeto-Burman language family, and it's spoken mainly in Tripura, some parts of Assam, Mizoram, and it's also spoken in Chittagong hill tracts of Bangladesh, Kagachari, Bandarban, and Sylhet of present Bangladesh. And it has close affinities with Dimasa, Bodo, Garo, Deuri, Rabba, etc. And it's spoken by more than 1 million population. The dialects are Bru, Deburma, Jamatia, Koloi, Murasing, Rupni, Tripura, and Uchoi, Deburma 2003. And Koch Brook is a tonal language with agglutinating features, SOB word order, and complex verbal morphology. Yeah, the objective of my paper is to look into the imperative construction and its interaction with other categories and formation of negative imperatives. So we have works done on imperatives and command, that is by Davis 1986 and Krakowskis by 2001 and Van der Overa et al. 2005, 6, and 16. Eichenwald 2010 and 2017 and Rosten and Teroff 2010 and Kaufman 2012. Jerry and Kissen, that is 2014. The existence of imperative is indeed a very widespread phenomenon cross-linguistically, Sedok and Zivki 1985. So we'll look into the overview of imperatives in Bodo Garo, which is optional and obligatory. For optional, we have in Bodo, du, that is faidu, which is optional. They don't use in their conversation. And in Dimasa, we have dao and day, tangdao or tangday, go. That is, it can be as a bare imperatives also. So in Rabba, it's unmarked totally. They have no imperative marker. That is tak, do or make. In Garo, we have bo marker, ong kubo, that is give, steal or more. And it's also optional, I think so, if I'm not mistaken. So Eichenwald 2015 states that there are 3 major speech acts. There are conventionally referred to as mode, a statement characterized by declarative mode, also called indicative mode, a command characterized by imperative mode, a question characterized by interrogative mode or interrogative words. So in Koch Brook, we have declarative mode, that is O marker, Bo Borok Kaham, he is a good person. So for interrogative, we have ba, bo, tini, hainai deba. We use this ba after question marker. So we have norok hainai deba, will you plural come, and norok ya deba, will you not come. So for imperative and transitivity, in Koch Brook, verb classes can be classified into transitive, which that is object. It can verb that takes object, and intransitive verb that do not take objects, and ditransitive verbs that take 2 objects. Transitively here I have given, for example, pengdi, it's not possible. So for that we have to transitivize the verb to use with imperative. For example, sepengdi, make straight, and kogdi is not possible. We have to use sokogdi. And chakdi, that is intransitive stative verbs. These are all. We have to use either positive prefix or positive verbs to make it imperative form. So imperative construction in Koch Brook. Imperative construction is expressed in Koch Brook by means of suffixes. It is obligatory in Koch Brook. Imperative construction, second person, we have used D. Here the subject can be dropped. We can use it without subject also. Just the D itself, we can say that it's a second person and it's singular. Faidi, thudi, sleep, work. And we have polite imperative marker, that is ba. For example, faidiba, which has to occur with after imperative marker. Himdiba, please work. And thudiba, please sleep. And we have impolite imperative marker ta, Faidita, that means uses impolite, will again himdita, that is impolite. So we have optative imperative, ja, di, ja, faijadi, that is we wish something, that something should happen to him, or we are wishing to somebody. That is thujadi, sleep, optative. And hortative, for first person we have na, but it has to co-occur with ga, which means here let. Faigana, that means let me come, or thugana, let me sleep. This na is for first person. For third person, we have marker thung, thu, or thun. It's a variation. It's by Eichenberg 2015 113 page. Phai thung, that means let him come, and him thung, let him work, or thu thung, let him sleep. And optative can also be used with jassive. Phai jathung, that means let him come, or imperative and other categories. So we have which interacts, that is aspect and number. Koch imperative forms only occur with two marked aspects, that is completive and inceptive. In completive aspect, we use chabaidi, that is eat completely or finish something to eat like that, and falbaidi, sell completely, and naibaidi, see completely. And in inceptive, chasokdi, that means start to eat, and thangsokdi, you can start to go or begin to go, something that means inception. And in hortative first person imperative, we have a complete, there also we can use chabaigana, that means let me eat completely, or I'll, and thangsogana, that means let me go, let me start to go. And imperative and number, here we have lie, which is verbal and which is plurational. That means if the subject is more than one, we have to use this lie. When we use lie, the subject indicates more than one, or more, that is two or more than two. So phylaidi, that means you plural come in clause, come plural, that is for second person. And polite imperative, we can use same thing, phylaidiva, please come, plural. And for impolite imperative, we use the same marker, and phylaidita, that means please come in a impolite way. And optative imperative, we use phylaijadi, that is please come. And for hortative first person number, we can use phylaigana, that means let us come. When we say phaigana, that means I will come, let me come. And for jassive third person imperative, we use the same thing, phylaitum, let them come. And for optative, we use the same marker ja, phylaijathum, that is let them come. And negative and imperative, the negative imperative prefix ta or da is found across Bodo-Garo languages that reflects the Proto-TB negative imperative prefix da or ta, Metisov 2003, 660 page. Negative imperative in Koch is expressed by a preverbal negative imperative marker ta, ta thangdi, don't go, and ta munidi, don't laugh. For in a plurational form, we can use ta thanglaidi, don't go, plural, ta munilaidi, don't laugh. So in negative jassive form, we use the same thing ta, that is ta thangtung, that is for third person, ta munitung in plural form, ta thanglaitung, and ta munilaitung, let them not laugh. So in conclusion, in everyday conversation, Koch uses command, request, etc. and others. Koch has polite and impolite imperative marker. Imperative in Koch is compatible with aspect and number. And the canonical objective imperative and jassive has a negative counterpart, whereas the hortative verb lacks them. And Koch retained the Proto-TB negative imperative prefix ta and da, which is found across Bodo-Garo languages. Thank you. Hambai.
Thank you, Samir, for a very interesting presentation on imperative construction in Koch. And participants can ask questions now.
Let me see whether. Okay.
I just want to ask regarding that last slide that you have given, Abhijan, that last slide before conclusion. Is lie verbal reciprocal here? Because it looks like it's saying like let them not go with each other, or something like that. It's like it looks like a reciprocal to me.
It functions like it functions in homophonous functions. It can be used as a reciprocal also.
So here, can it also be a reciprocal?
No, here it won't be reciprocal because the subject are doing the action in a same time. There are more than two subjects. Yeah.
There are more than two participants, and they're doing it in accompaniment. So, but could it be a reciprocal? That is what I'm asking. Maybe you can look into it.
Yeah. But as far as my intuition goes there, it's not reciprocal here.
Okay. Any questions? We have some time, enough time. So please feel free to even leave a comment.
Yeah, suggestions will help me find more, because we have many categories interacting with this verb and between these imperatives. So I did not take up most of the suffixes, which is very complex.
What about when you say like never ever go and don't go? Is it the same ta occurring there as well?
Never ever go.
Yeah. Like in Hindi, it will be don't go is mat jao or mat jana, but they also add kabhi mat jana, as in like never ever go.
Actually, we can't use their never.
I mean, what is the alternative that you
alternative? We can use the marker C, which is putting their intention or emphasis like.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask something?
Yes, ma'am.
Like the presenter has said, the Parma has said, in Garo, bo that imperative marker is like it is optional.
Optional, yeah.
Optional, but it is optional. But in writing, you'll find across bo everywhere, almost everywhere. Because in writing we have to be extra careful. It's not like when you talk with each other, when you talk among family members or friends like that. So therefore, and then there are other things which is I will not be able to mention it here. Then I'm just curious about whether you have negative suffixes. I mean suffixes which negate the verb. I mean that imperative part. Say, because in Garo we have, so I'm just wondering whether you have it or not.
No, ma'am, we cannot negate this imperative marker by suffix.
Okay, but I'm just letting you know that in Garo we have nabe.
Okay. Yeah, nabe is there. Yeah.
Nabe. So I'm just wondering whether you have some equivalent with nabe.
No, ma'am, we don't have.
Okay, so you stick with ta only.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye.
Do you also use that she for construction, like don't you ever go? That is again a little different from never. So for example, in Dimasa, it is daning datang. I can say like that. Instead of just datang, I say daning datang.
Daning
The
datang.
emphatic is coming there because Ma'am Caroline was mentioning it. So we have the emphatic coming with the prohibition. So don't you ever go for that.
No, it's not possible, I think. Daning datang.
Just want to say, just want to share what Monali had said. In Garo, we will say Mamung Salabari Angnabe, Mamung Salabari Angnabe, Mamung Salabat Dariang, Dariang means don't go, Dariang, Mamung Salabat Dariang. So, and Mamung Salabat means never ever go, never ever go, never ever something like that. So I'm just wondering whether you, you don't have a similar construction in Koch.
No, ma'am. I have. I do not come across these words in Koch. Never ever.
Okay. It's all right. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can look for it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts from the other Bodogaro speakers here, like Olin or Demalu? What Demalu has given, yeah. A question in the chat box. Pailai Tungdi. Is it possible to have Pailai Tungdi?
No, it's not possible because Pailai. What is it? Let me check. Pailai Tung. Not this Tung is. No, it's not possible.
So it's double imperative is not possible.
No, it's not possible. But this is for third person, so we cannot use this D there.
Oh, okay.
D is, yeah.
Oh, Tung is for third person and
Third
D
person.
is for second person.
Second person.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
Samir, thank you for the presentation. This the existential negator can come after the can be suffixed, right?
I didn't get you.
This he is not a teacher.
There
no will come at the end.
Yeah, he's not a teacher.
Suffixing, right?
Yeah, suffixing.
No, not the prefixing pattern.
No, not a prefixing.
No, I mean this imperative negation, since it has to go with the word, and since it always comes in the beginning.
Yeah.
This could be a very old form.
This is old form. It's a Tibeto-Burman form. Proto-TB.
Yeah, the other day also you mentioned that.
Yeah.
This it is adjusted outside the subgroup or what?
It's found in some other Tibetan languages also, but in Bodogaro, most of the Bodogaro we use this da or ta.
I see. Other subgroups we will have to look into.
Yeah, we'll have to look in that.
Okay. Thank you.
Since it's a Proto-Tibeto-Burman feature, other subgroup also will have that, as I feel.
Yeah. And regarding Demalu's question, actually it is possible in very much in Dimasa to say that we can say tung becomes ting, of course, in Dimasa. All of those which are e vowels before the velar nasal becomes u in Komporok. So it will be piloting, piloting. Though I can add, I can add the day or do after that. It is still possible, like a warning. In the imperative form. And I can even add the negation. I can say da pilating, though. I can even say that. So ting is actually for the third person, but you're saying that D is occurring only for second person. But in Dimasa, it is actually occurring for all the persons. The the equivalent of D is do and day. So it's quite interesting how it changed the the context in which they are occurring, this di and do day. What about in Boro de Malu? Is it possible to have this this equivalent in Boro? Is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible in Bodo. Let them come here. That last imperative marker also can add. Bisirkau fihede, let them come.
Yeah, that's what I think in Kokborok. It just got lost maybe, or it might have become archaic, that use, because in Dimasa it is possible.
I would just want to mention that after the imperative bo, de and da also is possible in Garo. De and da, chabo de, that means eat like with a gentle request. And da of course among those people who are close to you, we can say chabo da, like that.
Any other observations? Gargi, Roy, do you want to say something? You are unmuted, so. Oh. Do you have any question, Gargi? Okay. Okay, then we can call it a day off for this session at least. Thank you to everyone. Oh, yeah. In the Howard dialect, it is Thun, of course. Yeah. Dibajoti has given in the chat box.
That means we are more closely related with our.
Yes, because it's down south. So, but then it's possible in Dimasa, whether it is highlighting or highlighting, you can still add the do or day there.
Yeah.
And you can still have the negation.
One good.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Olin, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think Parthan sir was saying something, so I stopped. Anyway, actually, in Boro, it is like let him come. It will be be a fighting. Tongue is there, so it's a kind of for third person.
Is it optional or obligatory, Olin?
That is optional.
Okay.
Not optional, obligatory. If it is used with yeah, if the subject is third person, then, and if lie is used, then it will work only as reciprocal. It doesn't have a role of imperative, feature.
Thank you, Olin, for your observation. Yeah. There's also a question in the chat box from Gargi Roy for Samir. Do you want to respond to it?
Yeah. What is the Kokborok equivalent of I want commodity to go to market? There we'll use like with with verb I ang kumatino hatiwo tangna muchungjago. Something like, yeah, we will not use tung here. I wish or I like commodity to go market, something like.
So nani is also not possible.
Yeah, tangna, but tangna ni tangna muchungjago or rohorna muchungjago. Na is coming. Ni is not used.
Yeah, in Boro, there is a very interesting, case here in this kind of sentence. So what happens? The passive suffix comes with the verb in case of Boro, in this kind of sentence. Like thang is the word for go. The passive suffix is za, so it will be thangza.
So, Gargi has further asked if nani is ungrammatical here. The use of nani in this construction, as in like kumti to go to the market. Samir, can you hear me?
Yeah. Use no, it's not ungrammatical or grammatical. It's we can use both form also, but most of speakers use thangna muchungjago or thangna ni muchungjago. Something we can use that. Ni is actually it's like in genitive form.
Okay. So Ma'am Caroline has also given further inputs on the third person in Garo, Ware, Re Pachina.
Okay.
Let him come. Yeah.
Is it like Jane ke liye, Gargi is asking?
No. Let him come.
Let him come. Jane do. Oh, ane do, Jane do.
Yeah. Let him come. Anedo will be okay. Yeah.
Okay, then I think we'll close the session here because the next session will start at 6:30. So we have to be here by 6 again to do the technical check with the presenters. So I'd like to thank all the presenters today for your wonderful presentations and to the participants for such a thorough discussion. I think we have come to the end. So I'd like to hand over the further announcement, if there's any, to Bijan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Monali, for chairing this session very smoothly and keeping the timing very meticulously. And I would like to thank all the participants, Angshu, Dinkur, Bovita, Lovino, and Samir Dev-Burma for bringing up your interesting topics in the area of morphosyntax. Yeah, we don't have any other announcement, as Monali has already announced that the next session, that is the last session of ICTiBLANEI-2, will be at 6:30, which is we call as the Morphology 3, and the session will be chaired by Kellen Parker Van Dam from University of Zurich. And right there we have 3 paper presenters, and right after that we'll have our closing ceremony. So it is requested to all the participants to kindly be there at our last session and in closing ceremony as well. And your feedback means a lot to us so that we can improve the other TiBLANEI activity. So we'll have a short break and we'll gather again at 6:30. So till then, bye-bye. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. And if you want, you can stay back. The link is the same. We will just stop the live stream. So you can just stay here and you can have your evening tea and snacks and you can come back again.